Welcome back, fellow armchair generals. This is Gamer 1745 here with my continuing playthrough of WarPlan, and we have lots of activity going on this episode, though it is not a main campaign episode, I don't think. This is the second time I'm making this episode. I've been learning to use OBS, that's the software used to record these videos, better, and I made a episode with a nice sort of talk on warfare that probably half of you would have preferred not to listen to. But I had the button clicked to have the my sound. You heard the game sound, but my sound off for it. So, yeah, things happen. Okay, so if it seems like I'm just sort of going through the, like I already know what's going to happen, rote a little much, it's maybe because I sort of did. Well, we're going to try this. I don't think I did this last time. We're going to see if we can do an airstrike here. See if the subs are still like here from their rate. No battle recorded this turn. Okay, and we will try to do another time. Basically, what is they're not finding the subs because they're harder to find, even though we sort of know they're here. The aircraft are going, yeah, I don't see them. Okay, we're turning this to Raider. Maybe here. I'm trying to cut the supplies off here. I don't know how well that will work. Now, down here, where we will be definitely having some combat action. Let's pound this sucker. From a 5-5 to a 4-5. Now, what I don't think will happen, but what I want to do is completely kill the unit. No. Yep, we're using up oil. 3-1. Yep, okay, well, they retreated back. Didn't do this last time. Let's see if I can kill it. Oh shit. No, that's just going to leave me a little too weak. I don't want to lose to being hammered on by the armor there. We're going to move you up a little ways to just better intercept. Enemy air attacks against us. Now out here, we're going to keep you in your garrison status, but slowly march you back to there. Now, I've been informed, I hope reliably, well, just, we'll turn off the convoy routes for the moment. If Yugoslavia joins the Axis, it will then switch sides like historically. But if you already control, if the Axis already control Greece, it supposedly won't switch sides. Now, this is what sort of launched me into my big discussion, but we won't go really big there. It was on whether Germany could have won the war, blah, 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 blah. But I firmly believe the move should have been a certain level of planned attacks against Britain from the air. Germany does not have, and the Air Force is not designed to be a strategic Air Force. So, part of the thing is just as the airplane goes over there, how many bombs can it carry? The more planes up there there are, the more chances are to be shot down. 4 planes carrying the same amount of bombs as 2 planes carrying them, even if you have more engines on the 2 plane, so probably the 4 planes are going to use up more fuel, more maintenance time. Not exactly double, because it may be 4 engine airplanes versus twin engine airplanes and whatnot, but it will generally be that. And so some elements of strategic bombing are purely, how much tonnage can you carry? Some elements are much more along the lines of uh, how effective the aircraft is at defending itself, its range, all kinds of stuff. Well, from what I know of Germany, it could not afford a strategic air force. Walter Weber wanted a strategic air force for Germany. He died. He's in an airplane crash in 1936. He's a Luftwaffe general. He wanted that. I don't know if that would have been a massive mistake for Germany, trying to build good 4 engine planes, and not just building some. They had Condors, which are the Focke-Wulf 200s that were specifically designed to be transatlantic aircraft. A lot leading up to this period, a lot of aircraft could not fly across the Atlantic. Germany, in one go. Germany had set up a system in which they had a few ships out in the ocean, and flying boat, planes, but flying boats would take their passengers, find the ship out in the middle of the Atlantic, and you need fairly good conditions for this to happen, weather-wise, and then land and be towed. The floating plane would be towed onto the back of the small ship to be refueled and whatnot, and it worked, I think, reasonably well. I haven't heard a lot of details, but it seemed to be a thing that would do it. And I think they were sort of seasonal, and staying away from times when there was known bad weather, but they would be constantly sending back weather reports. I do know they were doing that so that they wouldn't take off and end up being in the middle of a hurricane where the ship was, that they needed to be refueled. You can't land and do anything in a hurricane. So there was some of that going on. Well, Germany wanted an aircraft that could take off in Germany, not in Ireland, not out in Brest here in France, not like there was a whole major thing with building air bases up in some in Greenland, and particularly in Iceland was sort of before the major jet age. It was take off from someplace like Boston, fly to Iceland, and then on to Europe was sort of the thing. But after World War II, they quickly got jet aircraft, and so the airports here quickly sort of died off as being a major traffic hub. And I think Britain did maybe use a little bit of, I guess, well, is it? No, this is some Bermuda is an island. It's out here, and you have is this Cape Verde? No, this is the Azores. Cape Verde is a little further south, I think. This is the Portuguese Azores. So you had other sort of means of transatlantic flight, and the big American Clipper ships. Those were other flying boats, but big giant ones that could get basically across from Portugal to here. But they definitely had hey, engines are going bad, places to, because running one of those big airplanes on just like 3 or a couple engines is quite doable, but not necessarily advisable halfway across the Atlantic. If one of your engine conks out, you sort of, and that's why they had multiple engines, is they could continue to fly with that with an engine not working, but they would sort of prefer to put in somewhere and get that engine back online and continue the flight if at all practical. So Germany wanted a transatlantic airplane, and so they did come up with a Condor. They used it primarily as an anti-maritime bomber, partly because it was made super lightweight to be able to get across there. So it was a rather weak aircraft. A lot of them broke up on landing, coming back from their operations, as much or more so from enemy damage. And they definitely had a few others, and I don't remember their designations that were twin engine or four engine bombers, but they never made them in large voluminous numbers, and there's multiple reasons for that. And had they tried to do that, well, a major bottleneck for Germany and the aircraft is simply the number of engines they can build. And so if you're wasting them on big four engine airplanes when twin engine airplanes for, more tactical, shorter range bombing are needed, it's a good thing. So yeah, in 1940, after the fall of France, not trying to, which they did try for a while, even like trying to, bomb fairly deep in there, try to use Stukas. That's sort of a bad idea. I say sort of because, hey, it's really short range, here. So if you're looking at hitting, whether it's, very quickly they stop once France falls, stop trying to move any big ships that aren't sort of military or important to go through, the channel. But even coastal, a lot of Britain had, rail was very important and very well done in Britain, but they still had a lot of coastal traffic of barges and small coasting craft. Yeah, if you're going after coastals, coastal craft vessels, Stukas are very good. They need fighter protection just because they're not well defendable and against enemy air attacks. But for precision bombing, you don't want to take a 4 HE-111s over to bomb, just a single light coasting vessel. You want to have a group of Stukas over, and they go in one at a time to see if, bomb it, and as soon as it looks like they get a good hit, ignore that target and go to the next target kind of thing. You want to do that instead of, going in sort of medium bombers for that type of operation. So immediate sort of coastal things, the Stukas are sort of kind of okay, but they're not really very good at that. And they tried to use BF-110s. They found they needed to escort the BF-110s because BF-110s really, they're a fighter, a little more of what I would call an interceptor, is that they were made to intercept bombers and strike effectively at bombers, and I think they did that fairly well. It's that they didn't go after, they weren't enough faster to always be able to outrun or always catch, because if you have any distance, and the enemy sees you, and you're in a fighter and the enemy sees you, and even if you're faster than them, if they have a bit of distance already, they just gun it and keep going away from you. If you're on their tail, and you just may not be able to actually effectively catch up in time, if you will, before fuel's going low and whatnot. So and there really wasn't a need to try to intercept big heavy aircraft over Germany, over Britain, so much more so having them over Germany or occupied, thank you, loud bus, I think that was, yes, intercept bombers and things they're rather good at. So yeah, I would have done some sort of an air campaign, but a realistic one, if you know what I mean, with realistic goals and objectives, not a we're going to conquer and destroy everything kind of campaign. And I think that would have been good. But, and I know this is, again, I'm not going too deep into it like I did last time, but still, I think second half of 1940 and through the bulk of 1941, I would have secured the Mediterranean and do what it takes to get Gibraltar, whether that means, we could debate on how well you could invade it from the sea and or, parachute landings. I do know they fairly well defended. And against a casual invasion, and again, I am not an expert on Gibraltar, but from a casual invasion, I think they could defend themselves rather well. But looking at what we see, in Eben Amal, and that's a very small operation, and taking that fortress down with gliders and such, be able to, and I know it's rockier and whatnot, but precisely land paratroopers on Gibraltar, get them in there with coastal bombardment, bringing Italian, ships there, pummeling the area. I think all of the really cool fortifications that are underground, I think they can just sort of sit on top of the fortifications and go, yeah, you're in there. You can stay in there as long as your food and water last, but at some point that's going to run out. When you do, we'll take your surrender, kind of thing. And just sort of, neutralize it. I think they could have done that. And Spain may have always been saying no vehemently and strongly enough, and with a strong enough army that Germany does not want to invade to do that. But I think they could have pressured, especially after, if you saw the British attacking the fleet at Oran, was it? No, wherever, in the bay, nearby here. And so I think you could have pressured the situation from the French to be able to significantly invade Gibraltar, but secure the Mediterranean, then attack the Soviet Union. So that's sort of what we're going to pursue, and we're going to pursue that by taking out Greece, since we know we need to take out Greece. We're going to help Italy take out Greece, and we're of course have this other fight that we're worried about, the British up here in Narvik. So we want to move a lot of forces. We're going to move you to here, you to here, you to here. Okay, because we're going to have these two mountain corps be ready to fight into Greece. We want to take out this last force here. So, okay, that will get, I have one action point left. Now we're going to use some of our air power here. And any of these dive bombers, no, they're too far away from there. They can strike. See if we can lower that a little more. Yeah, I think we will. I know these units need to get reinforced. Okay, 4-1. Boom, bye. They're done. Okay, now we're going to put you guys on rails. I love the way they do rail movement here. Now we're going to come down here. We can, it has a range of 6 hexes for an airborne invasion. So we can sort of kind of hit right here on the coast, but we may decide to put it on ships and get it somewhere over here to jump a little deeper in before we actually go to war with the Greeks. Now I use these 2 army units particularly because, not this, because this is on the rail, so it needs to be reinforced as well. Let's come down here with you. And I think there's one more, come on, here we go. Yep. If you notice, I have to sort of hit here, because if I go here, I just go to the monitor that I have above, and no, don't be jealous, these are, my other monitors are quite honestly junk monitors, but they're good enough to, for particularly when live streaming, but other cases as well, to be able to see the chat. I can look over and see my software, and this time again making sure that I have it checked so that it's recording my audio. Oh, this is just too noisy. Let's turn it down a bit. Okay, so that's getting I don't think we need other Stukas up there. Okay, now we have these guys. Let's put these guys on trains. We don't have too many of them. Okay, they can get down here. I'm not quite sure whether it's a... Is it a... yeah. The railway has temporarily been blown by the partisans there. Again, checking the supply thing will let that happen. And here, yeah, I think Brest is an alright place for you. We'll move you temporarily at least out to here. Now we're going to, we've used up basically all of our movement points for the railways. Now, this is a weak core with a lighter core, and so is this one, so we're going to keep those. And I guess since this is already sort of in garrison status, we'll move that somewhere a bit more important. Where's Rommel? That's Rommel. Rommel needs to come to a railway so that when we do, now we need to deal with what's going on up in the north. You're still a bit wounded from your invasion there, but there, so we're going to put you in ships. We'll get the ships back that we used up, but we'll come up here. I'm going to risk the dash. Yeah, I guess I sort of knew that from last time, and I did risk it last time. And we're going to go into port. So that's a real core. It's still a bit weaker. Hopefully we'll get it a bit more reorganized. We will prioritize reinforcements there so that we can actually fight up here. Now, here, another sort of messed up core. Let's put you on board ship, and we will deselect all, but we'll select you back here. Yeah, we can come up here, and then wrong guy. There we are. And we'll decide to, it's sort of landing us here, but we have the option to choose there instead, and I don't need to be way out on the peninsula just because we're going to move up the railway. Hopefully between this division here and these cores, we can again prioritize these because these are going to see action sooner to get reinforcements there. Hopefully that will be able to come up, push up, and deal with getting Narvik back and cutting them off. But we also want to make sure we are controlling Oslo. I don't want my southern sort of supply rail network to be hit. We will be facing, we could see by clicking these, supply problems potentially from here and down here, cutting our railways. But they are self-healing, so we don't completely have to play whack-a-mole to do that. Okay, we have fighters, and well, we're going to move one of these fighters down to the fighter corps. Our Luftflotte does. Down to the Mediterranean to help deal with any British air down there. Now we sort of give up interest in wanting to play with units in cleanup situations in the post major thing. I don't think there's any great benefit here. To having cores maintaining the garrison units here, unless we really think we're going to be facing, you know, combat from invasions. So we're going to move most of our corps either south to fight in the Mediterranean or getting ready for going after the Soviet Union. Now we have... Okay, we have... oh, let's close this up. We have these divisions here ready to go to Norway. Okay, well, we've got two divisions already here, so that's two. So we can have Norway or Narvik up in northern Norway. Once we get that, another one down. What is? Boy, I'm forgetting. Forgetting what. Sure, you're getting. Let me just use arrow keys. There's I'm forgetting what. Trondheim, right down there. Yeah, Trondheim. One there, and we want one in each of these two ports, and then one in Oslo at least, and maybe leaving. So the Trondheim, and we've got two for that. We need three more. So we have 4 divisions down here. What we're going to do is take you, move you up just to make sure we have something sort of controlling there. Now we're also going to come here to these guys. Now they need to sit for a turn on here with one active of these little black circles to do any effect against convoys. So even though it's sitting there, it won't do any effect, but this one will down here. We will later on be operating out of France. Okay, well, temporarily or briefly, we're going to move down here with you. Oh, you can come over to here, I guess. I sort of want to keep them on the railways because I do think we are going to head many of them east now. So I think we have enough divisions for going to Norway and Denmark. We've got 2 more divisions coming here to help. We have the Bismarck group, so let's deploy you to this port here. Join that group. And so hopefully between the 2 lighter cores and maybe that other core and maybe a few more divisions will be needed to hold down France well. That'll free up our proper combat corps for operations further east. Okay, oh, I wanted to come over here, and for Italy, we're going to pump this up to 5. We're just going to put all of the escorts into the Mediterranean. Here, Nordic ore. Let's briefly turn on trade convoys again. Yeah, both of these are coming down here, so this is probably going to be cut off. Nordic ore or something, I don't know, because of them up in Narvik. But either way, I don't think we need to escort them at the moment. And currently we have fully utilizing all of our research points. Now, Germany needs more landing ships, so let's buy 3 more groups of 10. Has 10 currently, but we will get that to 40, though we may be using some for an invasion of Greece soon. Okay. We've got for Germany 1 more Panzer Corps coming. Jag Corps. This takes the Mountain Corps here takes 120 days. Large Infantry Corps takes 60 days. There's more elite status to train up the Mountain Corps. These takes 200 days, so we're going to do this first because we have the production capabilities, and it's going to take the longest. So, although I do want to do another Mountain Corps to be able to fight, not so much in Greece, but further east. But I think we need to get this starting to be trained up here. So that's coming after all the rest of that. So it'll be in March 41. And so by November we'll be getting our additional landing ships. The more dockyards are coming. Okay, that looks fairly well. Let's look over. Yeah, they're just sort of maintaining. Now, here. These are weaker cores. What we're going to do is like move them down to Naples here. I don't know how active the AI would be on going for invasions. But for the moment, I don't think we need to really take the chance. Yeah, let's move this to here and this to here. These guys can come to here. We don't need the Corps holding down the border with Vichy France. Don't think we're going to be going to war with Yugoslavia, so we'll leave that be. Okay, so I think we're going to see how our turn has turned out. Turn off the convoys, end turn. Yes, we're ending turn. I just didn't want to weaken our armor corps so far forward and then get hammered by their armor corps down there. It may not be terribly strong, I don't know right offhand. But we would have been weak. We already are weak now. Okay, well, not much happened. Okay, Romania yields southern Dobruja to Bulgaria as part of Bulgaria's deal to join the Axis. Romania yields Transylvania to Hungary. Fighter bombers to 2. Anti-tank advancement for Italy to 2. Okay, our group off in the South Atlantic has sunk 1 convoy. And the British group in the Mediterranean has sunk 2 Italian convoys. That's a bit of a problem for Italy. Okay, well, okay, these guys are going to get a little more reorganized up there at 60 and 69%. So we're going to let them just sort of hopefully get enough supply to deal with things down there. Well, I think we're going to end this episode here. I want to thank you for watching. Thanks for liking the video. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. And of course, I love hearing from you. See you next time for more historical gaming.